The Gettysburg Address by Delaney Turner and Grace Reckers. The Gettysburg Address was given by Abraham Lincoln on November 19, 1863. He was invited to speak in honor of the men who had died in the Battle of Gettysburg. This battle lasted from July 1st to July 3rd in 1863. It started because Robert E. Lee, a Confederate Army general, wanted to try an offensive strike on the North again. However, the Confederates suffered a tragic defeat, with a huge death toll on both sides. On the Union side, 3,155 soldiers were killed, 14,529 were wounded, and 5,365 were missing. After the battle, since so many soldiers had died, Pennsylvania bought the 17-acre field on which the battle had taken place. This was where the new Gettysburg National Cemetery would be, and where Lincoln would give his address. Although his address was short, it was very moving. As State William Seward said, no one but Lincoln could have made that address.
The Gettysburg Address was given on the battleground of the bloodiest battle in American history. It was in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. This is also where the new cemetery was going to be built. This battle was very important to history because it was considered the turning point of the war. It was considered this because the South would never fully recover and the rest of the war would remain in the South. If this battle hadn't been won, the North may not have even won the war. Because this battle was so important, it made the Gettysburg Address even more meaningful and important to people who had lost their loved ones.
Lincoln struggled in writing the Gettysburg Address. When he finished his first speech, he rewrote it saying, "My speech does not express how deeply I feel about these men. I must rewrite it. I want people everywhere to understand what freedom means to us and how much we owe to the brave soldiers who died at Gettysburg." When Lincoln gave his address, it moved many people. He talked about how they would never forget the soldiers who fought there and that they didn't die for nothing. He also said that the war tested whether a nation based on the idea that everyone was equal could survive. In the address, he said, "It is for us, the living rather, to be dedicated here to the unfinished work which they who fought here have thus so far nobly advanced."
By the time Lincoln had given the address, photography was a new technology. It took a long time for the cameras, which were not portable, to be set up. Photographers figured that Lincoln would be speaking for at least an hour, just like Edward Everett. However, he only spoke for about 2.5 minutes, and the cameras take at least 10 minutes to set up. The only pictures photographers could catch were blurred images of Lincoln walking off stage. Out of the thousands of people that came to hear Lincoln speak, that day most couldn't hear him. However, his words would be remembered forever.
Former Governor of Massachusetts Edward Everett was also speaking at the cemetery. He spoke for 2 whole hours, yet Lincoln's message was still remembered as one of the most important addresses ever given. In fact, it was so impacting, Everett said, "I wish that I could flatter myself that I had come as near to the central idea of the occasion in 2 hours as you did in 2 minutes."
When Lincoln gave the Gettysburg Address, he was sure it was a failure. It was far from that. He made a lasting impression on everyone around him. Despite the length of Everett's speech and the brevity of Lincoln's, the president's message was enthusiastically received, and astute reporters at the scene realized that they had witnessed a significant piece of history. The day after the speech was given, there were many articles about the address. Republicans supported the speech, while Democrats found it inappropriate for the event. Republicans were sided with the Union, and Democrats were Confederates. This helped encourage the Union Army to fight because 2 Union victories were achieved on the same day, and they had support from Lincoln. They were also inspired because of the bravery of those in the battle at Gettysburg. Today, the Gettysburg Address is one of the most well-known addresses given in history. Although Lincoln wasn't aware of how powerful his address was, he left a lasting impact on our country with it. Lincoln's words have as much meaning today as they had for the people who listened to them at Gettysburg. If you went to the Union Cemetery today, you would see thousands of graves and a sign that commemorates that spot to Lincoln and the day he gave the Gettysburg Address. When Lincoln spoke about the Battle of Gettysburg, it was remembered forever. It was even carved into his memorial to help us remember the brief yet lasting speech. When creating the monument, we were sure to include his address to honor him as one of the nation's most astounding presidents. If you were to ask a child if they knew any presidents, they might say George Washington and Abraham Lincoln. Although they may not understand their achievements, all across the nation we remember Abraham Lincoln, the Gettysburg Address.